people, welcome to my channel. My name is Tanya. You might not know me from anywhere because this is my very first YouTube video, but I'm gonna be talking about something pretty serious today because this is the last day of Mental Health Awareness Month and I feel like I want to celebrate it by making this video, which is gonna be about the importance of putting trigger or content warning before sharing or posting about anything sensitive. And yeah, I'm gonna be doing it in full English, even though English is not my first language, so I apologize in advance if there's any grammatical error, and let's get to it. Okay, so what are trigger or content warnings? Apparently not everyone knows about it, so according to Google, it is a statement at the start of a piece of writing, video, a content in general, alerting the reader or viewer to the fact that it contains potentially distressing material or harmful emotional response, and basically it is like a warning that the following content might trigger you in some ways. Okay, trigger warnings are more likely for those who've had traumatic experiences, while content warnings are usually considered less harmful or like less threatening than trigger warnings, but the severity of emotional response varies, and the subject could be both or either depending on the person. And yeah, that's basically the explanation of it. Okay, so I realized that a lot of people have known the reason why we should put trigger warnings on, and a lot of people have done it, but it's usually useless because a lot of people do it incorrectly, and these are the common mistakes that I see when people put trigger warnings on. And the first one is not writing any other information, or like there's no context about what kind of content that they're about to see, so it's just like trigger warnings and nothing else. And the second one is write it incorrectly, so you're just like mixing it up with another stuff, if that makes sense. So yeah, that is the common ones that I've been seeing everywhere on social medias. Then how are we supposed to do it correctly? Basically is to write the trigger correctly and like make it readable so people can easily identify what they're about to see. So these are the examples of trigger warnings that I've seen on social medias. This one is from Mindset by the Dive Studios, and this one is, I believe, from Shits that you should care about, if that's the username. It's on Instagram. And yeah, basically make them as readable as possible and straightforward so people can identify the content. That's it. Okay, next, why should we be considerate about it? Well, we never know what people have been through all their lives, and even though it's our responsibility for what happened to them in the past, it is only good to acknowledge that sensitive topics might still affect them or they find it disturbing, regardless of whether or not it has happened to them. Putting them on is a form of respect, and actually I think it shows our quality as a person, because I do believe that people who have put them on have better knowledge or like education about mental health or mental illness, so it's a good thing. And it'll also help us be more aware of what we consume through social medias, what suits us and what doesn't, and therefore it'll help us to be wiser or be more mindful while using it. But how do we know whether or not the topic is sensitive? These are the things that I've found that are considered commonly sensitive for people, and they are rape and sexual assault or harassment, any kinds of abuse, physical abuse, mental, emotional, sexual, child abuse, any kinds of abuse, and then pedophilia, animal cruelty or animal death, and then self-injurious behavior such as anything suicidal, self-harm, eating disorders, etc. And then violence, needles, depiction of pornography, including child porn, incest, including any and all elements of romantic or sexual relationship between family, and then kidnapping, death or dying, pregnancy or childbirth, miscarriages or abortion, blood and gore, mental illnesses, food, because it has potential trigger to those who suffer from eating disorders, and then anything disgusting, disgusting food, vomiting, toilets, boogers, anything disgusting. And then flashing lights. So I have a thing with flashing lights because I have a pretty bad vision. I'm in this group chat with my friends, and one day we were like talking about something pretty serious, and one of my friends sent like an animated sticker where it's like, well, it's like an animation dancing, and it goes like boom boom boom. It's like there's like a light, and it's like just it keeps on flashing, and then as I scroll I was like, whoa, like that was so uncomfortable. And I mean, dude, we were in a conversation. I don't know, that's just really disturbing for me. And yeah, anyways, the last thing is creepy voices and or things. This includes horror, jump scare, darkness, heights, or anything that people commonly find creepy or scary. And yeah, that is basically everything on the list. And if your triggers are not on the list, it's always good to let people know what topics or contents that you find sensitive or disturbing. Keep people informed, especially if you're close to them. I personally use card for my personal triggers, and yeah, I put it in my bio on Instagram. And so yeah. Okay, I'm sorry that I have to change the setting, but let's continue to the impact of putting and not putting trigger or content warnings on sensitive topics. So by putting them on, it'll raise our awareness of mental and or mental illness, and it'll help us learn to respect others and care for them even better. And it'll help someone mentally prepare themselves for the following content they're about to see or read. So if they feel like they're not capable enough to move forward, they can just skip them and come back if they need to after they feel more ready to handle the possible emotional response. And that way, we might actually save someone's life, because usually the intensity of anxiety or trauma triggers are something that is hard to control, especially to those who doesn't know any coping techniques. And in my opinion, it's a special case when it comes to NSFW or 18 plus content, because it might actually support better sex education for youth. I know that minors access to porn sites really easily, and as far as I know, they never get proper sex ed and ended up having misconceptions about sexual activities or sexual relationship. So it's gonna be a good thing for the future. And luckily, if you're on Twitter, there's this feature called muted words. So if you have any discomfort towards anything, you can mute them and they won't appear anywhere on your Bird app. And next, I have actually interviewed a few of my friends who've seen or read sensitive contents without any warnings beforehand, and how it affects their daily life. So the first one is a minor who have difficulty sleeping after reading an 18 plus content. The second one is one of the closest friend of mine. She is struggling with mild anxiety problems and mental disorders. After seeing a content of self-harm, she gets flashbacks to where before she got help, and it really induced her anxiety. And the last one is someone who suffers from vertigo, who is unable to move her body for 2 hours after seeing a content that contains snake. So imagine how bad it is to not being able to move your body after just a picture of snake. So that was just a very few examples of how it affects people, and it might be worse for others. So please, please, please be aware of this. And though it might still affect their well-being after they see or read the content, even with the warnings, at least we're already being considerate by putting them on, and that is basically the point. So if you happen to be someone who is struggling with anxiety problems or mental disorders or any kinds of mental health issues, I just want to remind you guys that your emotions, your thoughts, your traumas, they are valid, even though I know that those things doesn't really make sense sometimes. And I just want to say thank you for hanging on to yourself. And that is the end of the video. I hope that it was understandable and that you guys find it helpful or resourceful. And if you do, please share this to your friends, family, colleagues, anyone who needs to know about this. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great time, and bye bye.